So this week's Torah portion tells of a man named Korach the Levite and two leaders from the tribe of Reuben in their unsuccessful mutiny against the leadership of Moses. And throughout the centuries, this portion has given commentators cause for reflection on the nature of leadership and a leader's responsibilities. In this portion with its sketchy details, we're not even certain of the rebels' motivation. Was it merely a power grab, or were there also legitimate complaints about the centralization of religious and political power in the hands of Moses and his brother Aaron? And the commentator Rashi's interpretive insights note that Moses offered three conciliatory actions with Korach three times before the rebels' rebellion and ultimate demise. And by the way, the demise of these rebels is no cute story. According to the Torah, the ground literally opens up and all of the rebels are swallowed up. And just as Jurassic Park is no Sesame Street, parts of the Torah are definitely PG-13 at the very least. So Moses' conciliatory offer to Korach three times before their demise is reminiscent of one of my many great rabbinic predecessors, Rabbi Wax. Rabbi Wax, who is still renowned in the civil rights community, is long remembered for a public moment covered on the front page of the New York Times and on all three major TV networks. But in retrospect, that moment was not the high point many people associate with him. It may have been, in fact, among his low points. Yes, Rabbi Wax made the national evening news and front page by confronting Mayor Loeb at City Hall, marching there with Father Viron and other ministers to remind the mayor that there are laws higher than the laws of flawed, bigoted men, and those are the laws of justice, decency, and our common humanity, the laws of God, according to Judaism. What a lot of people don't know is that Rabbi Wax, like Moses, had reached out to Mayor Loeb at least three times before that public confrontation to end the sanitation strike, in which black workers were simply asking for a 10-cent raise and the dignity of having places to go to the bathroom and escape dangerous working conditions. To think that black sanitation workers had to sleep in the trash compactors and not be able to urinate while in white neighborhoods. We know what motivated Rabbi Wax and what motivated, unfortunately, a handful of other courageous white leaders to rebel against the humiliation and segregation of human beings with darker skin. But why did Korach and his rebels this week in the Torah, why did they lead their mutiny against Moses? And it's widely thought that this great rebellion began out of a sense of envy. Envy can be one of the most destructive of all emotions. It is so toxic that you're looking at it in the Ten Commandments. It's included above the ark, the last of the 10, warning us not to covet that which belongs to our neighbor or anyone else. Yet, there is a monster of jealousy that kids as well as adults need to not just scare away, but replace with gratitude. In any event, Moses' manner in attempting to prevent Korach's ill-fated uprising teaches us something really important about leadership with Moses. Leadership. Moses demonstrates that personal power and glory are not the characteristics of a true leader or a great leader, as we learn this week from Moses. The key characteristic is a genuine concern for the people you lead, whether, I'm not just talking politics, I'm talking about your family, your community, a genuine concern for the people you lead and the cause you lead. That should and must always take precedence over one's ego or concern for oneself, which is why Moses tries to stop the rebellion by meeting with him and conciliating. Moses was never about his own personal power or glory. His leadership was always about the people. He didn't seem to care about the latest opinion polls, nor did Moses take Korach's attack on his leadership personally. Moses, the one in authority, approached his accuser, and in doing so, he placed concern for the just cause he was leading over any concern for his own reputation. His leadership motives were purely about protecting the people he was leading, maximizing their safety, minimizing harm. You remember, this is the same Moses who has to talk God out of wiping the people out after they made the golden calf. God wanted to destroy the people for what they did, and Moses pleads on their behalf, and God relents. It wasn't about him. It was about the goodness, compassion, justice, love, and concern for the people in his care. Korach and the rebels erroneously believed that they could achieve greatness by stirring up the masses, and they ultimately failed. The message for our time is that when it comes to leadership on any level for the greater good, the most important thing isn't the who. It's not who is on the yard sign, but what the person stands for and why. How would a leaders answer this question? What's your solution for the building of a better tomorrow for everyone? And why are you serving? Why and what is your solution for the future of the Jewish people? A relevant Judaism, not just for 50-somethings like me or 80-somethings, but the 20-somethings and those yet to come. The future not only for our Judaism, but for our county, our state, nation. Yes, Judaism and the world will depend on this example this week of Moses, what I would call other-directed leadership, other-centered, not self-centered, regardless of your religion, party, or residence. Ditto for families and parents on this Father's Day weekend. So in that light, I want to close with one of the great statements of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. It was a statement not about Jewish philosophy or this week's Torah portion. It was what he wrote about being a dad. And it wasn't the predictable honor your mother and father sermon. It was this other-directed idea in line with my sermon tonight on leadership. Heschel writes, I am a father. I have a daughter, and I love her dearly. I would like my daughter to honor me, as the Torah says, to revere me as her father. And so I ask myself over and over again just one question. What is there about me that deserves the reverence of my child? You see, he continues, unless I live a life worthy of her reverence, an example of unconditional love, of being there, why should she live a Jewish life or look to my example as her model, imperfect as I am? So Heschel's message to Jewish parents and all parents is therefore this. Every day, ask yourself the question, what is there about me with all my imperfections as a parent that deserves the reverence of my child? May dads and moms, daughters and sons, may each of us emulate Moses' other-directed example of leadership in this week's Torah portion, and thereby continue the Torah and the children of Israel's legacy of goodness, compassion, justice, family, and love. And let us say, Amen.